This is the original, the biblical, the scriptural, the historical, the authentic Jerusalem that is properly called Agasimba. This is it here. This is how it looked. This is its shape, and this is its topology. This is it here, the one of history, the one that went through the 70 AD destruction by Titus Vespasian. And this is one of the cities of Judah that went through the 132 AD destruction by Hadrian, where the remaining cities of Judah were destroyed and burned by Hadrian in his response to the Bar Kokhba revolt. But this is it here. This is Agasimba, the historical, the biblical, the authentic Jerusalem. Now what we're going to look at here is where Joshua was laid. The one that is commonly known as Jesus Christ. He was laid here, right up in here. This is where the tomb of Arimathea, Joseph of Arimathea, this is where it is located. Now the Jerusalem, it is surrounded by two mountain ranges. On the eastern wall, this is the eastern wall here, all along here, there's a mountain range right here. And this mountain range, it has three mountains on it: Mount Corruption, Mount of Olive, and Mount Scopus. The second mountain range over here, it's right above the northern wall. This is the northern wall of Jerusalem. And here's the second mountain range. From here, goes all along here. And in this section of the mountain range, the second mountain range, this is where tombs are. And these tombs are for the rich and wealthy only. And this is where we find the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Christ was buried here, right in this area. And let's go to Jerusalem, to the Antonia Fortress. This is what is left of it, of the compound of the Antonia Fortress. This is where Pontius Pilate had his headquarters. This is where the Praetorium is, that included the Praetorian Guards. This is where Christ was flagged and scourged. All of that occurred here. And you are looking at the real thing. This is the compound of the Antonia Fortress that has been burnt to a crisp. This is what is left of it. But this is where Christ was at when a crown of thorns was placed on his head. And he had to bear and carry that heavy beam, that cross. From here, now this is a possible route that Christ took going to Golgotha. This is not the actual route, but it is a candidate for the actual route. Coming from the Antonia Fortress, it is possible that he came this way, through this gate here, through the old gate. And went this route through the northern wall. It's a route coming through here. All down here. And this line here, this is a road, an actual road in Judah. And he had to carry that heavy beam, and with the assistance of Simon, But nonetheless, he carried a heavy beam after he had been whipped. Now, from the Antonia Fortress to Golgotha, that's a little over 4 miles. So he carried the heavy beam a little over 4 miles, came all the way here. This is the historical, the biblical, the scriptural Golgotha. This is the real thing here. This is how it looks. And it shapes just like a skull. This is it here. This is how it look here. The one in the Middle East, this is not located in the Middle East, but the one in the Middle East, it shapes like a skeleton face, and not the crown of the skeleton, but the face of it, which is incorrect. Golgotha is shaped like this here, like a skull, as we see here. This is Golgotha. Now, contrary to what has been put out by scholars, that Christ was crucified on top of Golgotha, we learn from the Gospel of John, where John informs us that Pilate, he wrote on the cross in 3 different languages. This is the King of the Jews. And we learn from the Gospel of John that the passerby, they came by, they read what was on the cross, and they reviled Christ. Now, in order for them to read what was on the cross, they had to see what they have read. Now, if Christ was crucified on top of Golgotha, and Golgotha stands at 930 meters, the passersby would not have been able to see what was written on the cross. So when we read John and he tells us that the passersby read what was written on the cross, that let us know that the cross was on ground level at the foothill in eyesight. So this is where Christ was crucified, up in this area here, at the foothill of Golgotha, not on top of Golgotha, at 930 meters high, but at the foothill in eye level, so that the passerby can see it. And that was one of the traits of the Romans. They took pride in their work. They made sure everyone see what they have done in order to instill fear in the people. So the Romans, they crucified Christ right up in this area here, at the foothill of Golgotha. Now let's go back to the second mountain range. Now, scholars, one of the things that has been promulgated by scholars, particularly those of the now defunct Jesus Seminar, these particular scholars, they have put out the claim that the disciples, particularly the women, they went to the wrong tomb when they came to anoint the body of Christ. The claim is that they went to the wrong tomb. But now that we can see the original, the real, authentic Jerusalem, and we see its terrain, it is very clear that it is impossible, thoroughly impossible, for the women to have went to the wrong tomb. That's number one. Number two is the tomb was heavily guarded with over 100 Roman soldiers. And when the people were let know by Pontius Pilate, some of Herod's people was let know by Pontius Pilate that they have a guard. When Pilate said they have a guard in Roman time is 100 soldiers, sometimes a guard contains or consisted of more than 100 soldiers. So that's what they had here. They had 100-foot soldiers all around this area here. And we have to keep in mind that this was during Passover. And when Passover is being celebrated, Jerusalem becomes heavily populated and overpopulated, so that the people, they have to encamp at the foothill of Jerusalem, all around Jerusalem, because there's no more room inside the city. So the people tend to camp all around Jerusalem here. And because of that, Pilate gave them a guard, not 2, 3, 4, 5 soldiers. He gave them more than that, over 100 soldiers, because it was past Passover. And so they needed many men, many soldiers to guard their tomb. And so that's what their guard consisted of, over 100 soldiers. Now what's important about that is that the presence of the guards would have let the women know where the tomb is. So that's a piece of information that the scholars, they kept out, and they have caused many people to lose faith in Christ by promoting a false narrative that the women have went to the wrong tomb, which is not the case. But this is the place where Christ was buried. This is where the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, located in this section here. And that there was a lot of other tombs. There's a claim that one of the pharaoh's daughter's tomb was located in this area here as well. But this is it here. This is how I look. The second mountain range along the northern wall. This is where the tomb was located. Joseph of Arimathea. And this is Golgotha. Notice the close proximity of Golgotha to Jerusalem. From here to here is about 1.7 miles. From the Antonia Fortress all the way to here, that's about 4.6 miles. And that's a long distance to carry a heavy beam after you have been scourged and flagged. It's very painful, and during the heat of the day. But this is the original, the biblical, the scriptural Jerusalem, Golgotha, and this is a possible route that Christ had took on his way to Golgotha. So this is it here, the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea in Judah, the land of Judah, that is properly called Agisimba. And this is our city,